So we've had a few requests from people wanting to make their own Panhard Drop Bracket. So these are for the second generation Toyota 4Runner or for the Hilux Surf. So in the US that's 1990 through 1995. They have the coil springs in the rear and then a Panhard bracket that attaches on the passenger side of the frame and goes down to the driver's side of the axle. And that bar pivots as the suspension cycles, and it keeps the axle centered under the vehicle. But when you put a suspension lift on, you're lifting the frame and you're dropping the axle. And what that does, if you have a fixed length bar, you can see as you drop that bar down, this end here moves over and it pulls your axle off to the side. So anyway, to make one of these brackets, this is a 4-inch drop bracket, just as an example. You need a piece of steel about 9.5 inches long. So you've got 4 inches between these two holes. I have holes here at different offsets. The distance between these two holes, that's your drop. So this is going to bolt in where the bar normally attached and then lowers the passenger side end of the bar down to this hole. So whatever drop you want, that's that distance. So in this case 4 inches. You want to leave about 1 inch or 25 millimeters at the bottom. This is 2-inch wide material, 50 millimeter wide. Anyway, you've got 4 plus 1 is about 5 inches, and then you want about another 4.5 inches up to the end. So a 9.5 inch piece of steel is what you need for a 4-inch bracket. And you just taper this down. I think it's between 1/2 and 3/4 inch wide here, and then you come down roughly to about the circle. We usually cut them about 19 degrees, but you can do whatever angle you want there. And then a little notch here, I think there's some material, because this is going to fit in the frame bracket, and I think there's some material down here, so you want to do a little clearance cut there. But anyway, you need 2 of those, and pretty much just drill the hole in the middle of the material. This is what the end of the Panhard bar has on the side that attaches up here, and this is about 1.75 inches wide. So you would want the bottom to be that wide, you know, wide enough to fit the bushing end of the Panhard bar, and then you need the top end narrower because it's got to fit into the space that bushing fit into. We typically use 3/16 inch or roughly 5 millimeter thick steel. So in that case, you need to be able to bend the steel in about 3/16 of an inch. You know, if you put the two pieces together there and you sight down, this space in the middle is equal to that thickness at the bottom. The other option, if you don't have a way to bend the steel, is just cut it straight across and then just re-weld this piece, butt it up to this piece, except with a 3/16 or whatever thickness spacer underneath, and just have it come down and then step over. You cut that inner spacer, and you want to also cut a piece of steel to go inside. Let me move this out of the way, show you a bracket that we have in progress here. So you can see here, you need a piece of steel to go in the middle there, and there'll be a bolt. So you'll drill a hole through here, through the frame bracket, and bolt this top piece to the frame, and then this bolt will go through the original hole in the factory bracket that's on the frame, and then your Panhard bar will go down here. Now this is a 3-inch bracket, but about the only thing that changes is that distance. Anyway, you want to cut a piece of tubing. This happens to be 5/8 inside, 7/8 outside, but you need something with roughly a 5/8 inch center hole in there, or you could go 9/16. if you want to use a 9/16 inch bolt. You can use metric if you want. The width of this is about 1 5/16 inches. This one here is about 4 inches long, and like I said, it's about 4.5 down to this center hole, so that way you can get a piece in there. And then as far as a jig, you just need like 2 5/8 inch bolts. And so what we do is we a piece of tubing here a little bit bigger than the width of the Panhard bar bushing, so you can put that there to keep that spacing, and then this piece goes in there and then gets welded in place. So you come in and tack weld here a couple of times, and then weld here, weld here, weld around that tube on both sides, and you're pretty much done. So yeah, it doesn't take any great fabrication equipment. You just need a saw. You could probably do this with a cutoff wheel and a grinder, and of course you will need a welder. There's no way to get around that. Like I show here, you have holes here. Here's 4 inch, 3.5, 3, and 2.5 inches, and then we've also done 4.5, 5, 5.5, and 6 inch long. Pretty much 6 inches is about the most you're ever gonna need. See if I can put links in the video description to the steel that you would need, and then it's just a matter of cutting these two pieces. You cut this one, cut some tubing. You can actually, like this here, that's a piece of water pipe. You can actually use black iron water pipe if you want. Just get a pipe nipple that's got a couple inches of unthreaded length in the middle and cut off the threads on both ends, and just use that as your piece. You can also use that here. You know, we buy the seamless DOM tubing, but you could use water pipe. I think that's 1/2 inch water pipe. You could probably even use 3/4 inch, just the black iron, or this was galvanized. We just use that for the jig. For weld, we don't actually weld on the galvanized pipe. It's just there for a spacer. But yeah, you don't have to have a fancy jig, just a couple of 5/8 inch bolts, and crank the nut down to hold everything tight. And usually if you weld it up when it's all together and leave all the bolts in until it cools down, that'll keep it from distorting. If you have your own welder, you can weld it yourself, or if you know someone in your neighborhood that's got a welder, or you got a buddy at work that has a welder at home, you can stick weld this, MIG weld it, TIG weld it. But anyway, that's how you can make your own Panhard bracket. They're not terribly hard to make, and you've got all the dimensions you need right on your vehicle. Just measure the Panhard bar bushing that is going in there, and then whatever thickness of material. So yeah, hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, check out the video description. I'll have some information there on how you can make your own brackets. And as always, thanks for watching.